John Alden Knight was born in 1890 and died in 1966. So he was primarily active as a fly tyer, fly angler, really, during the 1930s, 40s, 50s. He is most known for popularizing the Mickey fin. This is one of his bass flies. Since he was not exclusively a trout fisher, this is Knight's brown bomber. The tail is yellow bucktail, so I've taken a chunk of yellow bucktail, cleaned out the butt ends, and I'm going to stack it so that I get my ends even. I did lay down a base of black thread on a number 3/0 dark straight shank straight eye hook. The tail is not real long. Just a clump of bucktail, and I'm going to wrap this bucktail in the entire length of the shank. That will help keep an even body, and I want to make sure that as I tie in the tail that I have it on top of the shank, and then I'll just do a spiral wrap up the shank, keeping that bucktail on top of the shank as much as I can. And the reason I'm tying it in the entire length of the shank is so that I don't have a lump somewhere in the body where I've cut this bucktail off. Bring it up here to where I'll be tying in a head. Go ahead and cinch that down there. And then I can clip out all of the butt ends, a little bit of a taper when I cut it there. That will help to keep from having a lump. And I'll just go ahead and wrap back up over that down the length of the shank. I'm using a fairly heavy thread. This is actually silk because it's what I happen to have on a bobbin and a heavy thread. And so I am also waxing it. That'll help to preserve it and help with tying in. The rib is gold. I'm using a gold oval tinsel. And again, that one I'm going to wrap. Well, I can see right now already that I've wrapped tighter here at the bottom, so it's a little bit narrower and then it gets wider, which is fine for a taper, but I don't have to take that rib as far up. And I'm going to wrap the rib in on the bottom of the shank. And then that way when I wrap the rib, it'll come out from underneath. Go ahead and just take that up to where the length of that gold oval tinsel ends. The body is a light brown wool, so I'm going to wax my thread again, and I could use a dubbing wax here too, but I'm just using a fly tier's wax on my thread. That'll help get this dubbing to lay down on it. And then I want to take just sparse pinches of that dubbing and spin it onto my thread for the body. Wetting my fingers will also help control that dubbing, so I want a fairly tight, narrow noodle. And then I can just start wrapping that in, and after I start, if I feel like it's too thick, I can keep spinning it on the thread, but that looks fairly good. And because it's a long shank, I just keep adding dubbing as I go. So I lay the dubbing material, in this case a light brown wool, on the thread and then pinch it between my thumb and forefinger and rub them together to spin it on. And then wrap up the hook. Touching wraps. See, I got a little wide there, so I can go ahead and spin that a little bit tighter. And I'll go ahead and wax the thread. Add another wisp of dubbing. Got kind of fat there. And just try to control the dubbing to get a nice even body. And patience is the name of the game here, I believe. .3/0 hook is a good size hook. It's not the biggest of the hooks, but it's a good size hook and way bigger than most of the flies that I tie. And just take that dubbing up the hook, create that body, repeat, wax, just a wisp of dubbing. Helps keep the body more evenly shaped if the noodle isn't too fat. And then I just layer if I need to layer the body noodle, I can do that too, just to make sure that it's staying the same size as I work my way up the shank. I'm getting close. This wax that I'm using is called cobbler's wax, and it is a combination of rosin, the same kind of rosin that violinists, celloists use to treat their bows, and beeswax melted together with a little bit of oil. And it's called cobbler's wax because originally it was the wax used by cobblers, shoemakers, on the thread that they used to sew their shoes together with, which was then adopted into the fly tying world. Probably because it's what was available and known to treat silk thread well. And silk is not necessarily what this recipe calls for, just calls for a heavy black thread. So I'm pretty close here now to the beginning of the body, where just add a little bit more of dubbing here and then make sure that I'm leaving room where I will be tying in the throat and wings. That's probably good. I'm going to counter wrap the rib, which means I'm going the other direction. And spiral wraps, try to keep those spirals evenly spaced up the shank of the hook, up the body. Again, I'm using gold oval tinsel for this. And then I'll take my thread and wrap around the end of that tinsel 3 times to catch it in. And then I'll pull back on it and wrap tightly 3 times underneath of it. And then I can clip off the extra. Go ahead and wax my thread again. The throat is also yellow bucktail, so I'm going to just clip a little pinch off of this bucktail here, stack it, and tie that in on the bottom of the shank for the throat. So I just fan the bottom of the clump and pull out all the short stuff. And then go pull out the real long stuff at the bottom or the tips, because that's going to get in the way of the stacking process. Take the clip ends, stick them in the stacker, push them all the way through. So all I have is the tips here. And then I'll stack that off camera. I'm going to take and invert the hook. Pull that clump out of the stacker. If it's not perfectly stacked, that's not a problem. Gives it a little bit of taper at the tip. But I want that to be from the shank behind the eye, leaning out towards the point of the hook. And I'll just hold that in on top of the shank and wrap a looser wrap to keep it from flaring, and then tighten as I wrap towards the eye. Move that to make sure that it's square on the hook. And then I will clip out the extra, clip it at a taper. And I'm going to pull it through a little bit because I've got it, just wrap over that. I don't want it out over the eye like that, so I'll just wrap it in. It's a big eye, so I'm keeping it fairly clean. Turn my hook back right side up. The wings are brown saddle, so this is rooster feathers that comes off of the back, and I want 4 of those, so I'm going to try to take 2 from this side and 2 from this side so that they're even. So I have just 2 of those saddle feathers, and I want them to stick out about shank length behind. So I'm going to be cutting them off right here. And then I'm going to strip off the barbs, keep those two together, and I'm going to tie them in so that the back side of the feather is facing forward, because these will be the ones in the back, and I can just take and pinch that with my thumb and flatten those ends and put a little kink in it right there. And then just lay that right against the shank there and wrap up on that, and then I'm going to clip out, see if that's laying properly. That's pretty much what I want. Go ahead and clip out these these butt ends. And then I'll take two more, measure them to the same length. Do the same thing with that, clip those off. Strip the butt ends. And I'll do the same thing here, pinch those. Get a little kink in them, then lay them against the other two. And wrap up over them. See how that looks. Okay, I'm happy with that. They're both, all four of the feathers now are right on top of the shank, leaning out past the end of the hook. I'll go ahead and clip those butt ends. And then I'll wrap up over those. The cheeks on this fly are yellow, so I'm using goose shoulder, and I'm taking just a little slip off of opposing feathers, so I have that one and that one. This one will be the one on the back side, this will be the one on the front side. It's a little more than 1/4 of an inch there, I think I have. And then I'll just take that, lay it against the hook. I'm coming back a little more than halfway down the body with the tip of that feather, and I'll just loose wrap over the top of that and then cinch down on it. Get that to tie in on the front side. Couple good wraps, and I'm going to clip out the butt ends. And then I'll turn the hook over, get rid of this barb here that's in the wrong place. Take a slip out of the complementary feather. Turn that upside down this time. Get that standing up properly. And then I'll lay that against the shank of the hook. Let's see. So I want that like that. And then just take a loose wrap and cinch it. Adjust it, compare the two. This one's a little bit lower. Just move it up a little bit. This one's a little bit longer. And I've got it shorter. Okay. And I'll go ahead and wrap that tight. and clip off the butt end. And then the last piece of this bass streamer, called a brown bomber, is a yellow hackle. So I have this yellow rooster cape, and I'm taking the feathers back here from off of the back, just one. And I'm going to cut off the fluff at the bottom, peel down, and do a crew cut. Just cut a few of the barbs right next to the rachis short. And I'm going to tie it with the shiny side out. Lay that against my shank, wrap over that end where I have the crew cut. That'll hold it in. And then I will take that and wrap it around the shank right behind the head. Keep it with the shiny side facing forward. That way the barbs will lean backwards. And then I'll pull back on those barbs as I wrap them also. Just make sure I'm leaving enough in front for the head. And divide that hackle and bring my thread in and tie it off. So 3 wraps over the top, and then I'm going to just pull back on everything. Get all of these hackles to lean back. I wet my fingers, that tends to help. And then wrap under and over the end of that hackle and begin to wrap the head. Try to get a fairly smooth head. Find that tip, snap it out, and then I'm going to go ahead and wax my thread one more time, and then I won't put any head cement on it. When I do the whip finish, the wax will hold the whip finish and create its knot. I'll do a 3-turn whip finish. If I wanted a shiny head, I could put some lacquer or UV resin on it. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Take my scissors and just push it against the thread to cut it out. And because I didn't put any head cement on there, I don't have to worry about making sure that I have a clean eye. It's already clean. So, Jack Knight's Brown Bomber Bass Streamer.